Jack's boots crunched on the harsh desert sands of Calidor 3 as he scanned the horizon with his binoculars. The sun dipped below the craggy mountains, casting long shadows and bathing the land in an orange glow. As a freelance scout, Jack was used to solitude and the silence of alien landscapes. He lowered the binoculars, rubbing his tired eyes, and considered heading back to his ship. Probably just another fruitless day, he muttered to himself. Just as he turned, a glint of something unnatural caught his eye, a reflection that didn't match the dull shades of the desert. Curiosity piqued, Jack adjusted his course, heading toward the anomaly. As he approached, the outline of a figure became apparent, half buried in the sand. Holy! Jack couldn't finish his sentence as he neared the figure. It was an alien, unmistakably noble in her attire, though her clothes were tattered. Her skin shimmered with a subtle luminescence, even in the fading light. He checked for signs of life. She was breathing, just barely. Jack knew he couldn't leave her there. Without a second thought, he hoisted her over his shoulder, her body surprisingly light, and made his way back to his ship. Once inside, he laid her gently on a cot. His medical training was basic, but it was better than nothing. He hooked her up to a saline drip and monitored her vitals on the old med scanner. She's stable for now, Jack said to himself, more in hope than certainty. Hours passed with Jack keeping a vigilant watch over the alien princess. As the first signs of dawn broke the horizon, her eyelids fluttered open, revealing eyes the color of deep sea. "Where am I?" Her voice was melodic, yet weak. "You're on my ship, a few miles from where I found you." "You were out in the middle of the desert," Jack replied, handing her a glass of water. "Who are you?" she asked, accepting the water with a nod of gratitude. "Name's Jack. And you are?" "Leary," she said, sipping the water cautiously. Was a princess." "Was?" Jack raised an eyebrow. Leary glanced away, her gaze settling on the metallic walls of the ship. "I was abandoned, betrayed by my own kin over a throne I never desired." Jack sensed the deep hurt behind her words, choosing not to pry further. "Well, Leary, you're safe here. I'll help you get back on your feet." Leary looked at him, her expression a mix of confusion and curiosity. "Why help me, a stranger? Our kinds, humans and Ildrians, they aren't exactly allies. People are just people, wherever they come from. Besides, leaving someone to die in the desert doesn't sit right with me," Jack responded, his tone firm yet gentle. A silence fell between them, filled only by the soft hum of the ship. Leary finally spoke. "I do not understand much of your kind, Jack, but I am grateful for your kindness." Jack nodded. "Rest now. We can figure out what to do next once you're up." As Leary rested, Jack sat at his console, plotting their next move. He had questions. How did a royal end up abandoned on such a forsaken planet? What dangers might follow her here? But for now, he focused on the maps, charting a course that might help them avoid any patrols or unwanted attention. In this quiet moment, with the alien princess resting and the sun rising, Jack felt an unexpected sense of purpose. He wasn't just a scout anymore. He was a guardian, at least for now. Leary's recovery was quicker than expected. Her species' ability to heal, augmented by Jack's makeshift medical interventions, had her sitting up and taking in her surroundings with keen interest within a day. The inside of Jack's ship, cluttered with tools, maps, and a collection of alien artifacts, fascinated her. "You collect these?" Leary asked, pointing towards a shelf lined with glowing stones and metallic objects. "Yeah, bits and bobs from different planets. Keepsakes, you could say," Jack replied, watching her from his workbench where he tinkered with a malfunctioning scanner. "Your people enjoy collecting history?" Leary's voice was full of wonder. "Some of us. It's more of a personal hobby." Jack set down his tools and walked over to join her by the shelf. "Each piece tells a story. Like this one," he said, picking up a blue crystalline shard. "Found this on a meteorite in the belt of Zorian. It's over 1,000 years old." "Amazing," Leary murmured, her fingers hesitantly touching the sharp edges of the shard. Jack watched her, intrigued by her curiosity. "Feeling better?" "Much, thanks to you." "I am indebted," she said, her voice still carrying a hint of formality. No debts between us, Jack said quickly, smiling to ease her concerns. There was a moment of silence as Leary processed his words. Then she nodded, seemingly accepting his approach. I am unfamiliar with human customs, but I am willing to learn, if you are willing to teach. Sure, and maybe you can teach me something about your people, too. Fair exchange? Jack suggested. A fair exchange, Leary agreed with a nod. Over the next few hours, Jack introduced Leary to various human technologies and tools aboard the ship. They shared a meal, standard space rations which Leary found surprisingly palatable. So, no culinary delights to speak of among humans? Leary joked, examining a packet of freeze-dried beef stew. We have better stuff back on Earth, I promise. This is just practical space fare, Jack explained, joining in the laughter. As they ate, Jack grew curious about Leary's world. You mentioned being a princess. What's it like, ruling a planet? Leary paused, her smile fading slightly. I never ruled. My sister, Arela, was to inherit the throne. My role was ceremonial at best. Until the coup. Jack noted the shift in her tone. Want to talk about it? Leary sighed, setting her food aside. Perhaps another time. For now, I find solace in the simple pleasures of your company and your ship. Fair enough, Jack said. He showed her how to operate the ship's main console, explaining the basics of navigation and space travel. Leary was a quick study, absorbing every detail with an eagerness that impressed Jack. You're good at this, he complimented. One must be quick to learn when in exile, Leary responded, her hands confidently adjusting the controls. As night fell, they found themselves at the ship's viewport, staring out at the starlit cosmos. The calm of space was a stark contrast to the complexity of their conversation. Jack, why are you out here? So far from other humans? Leary asked, her gaze fixed on a distant star. I was looking for something different, away from the politics and problems of Earth. Out here, it's just me and the stars, Jack confessed. Leary turned to look at him, her luminescent eyes reflecting the starlight. I understand the desire to escape. I too find peace in the distance I've put between myself and my past. Their shared understanding seemed to forge a deeper connection, an unspoken bond formed not just from circumstance, but from mutual recognition of each other's need for escape. Tomorrow we'll check the engines. Maybe head to the nearest outpost. See about getting you whatever you need, Jack said, the practicality of his words bringing them back from the brink of too deep a conversation. Yes, tomorrow, Leary agreed, her voice soft but resolute. As they parted ways for the night, each to their own quarters, the silence of the ship seemed less oppressive, filled instead with the promise of new friendship and mutual respect. Jack felt a change in the air, a shift in his routine life that Leary's presence had brought. He was no longer just a wanderer. He was a teacher, a friend, maybe even a protector. And that thought gave him a surprising sense of satisfaction as he drifted off to sleep. The morning light filtered through the portholes of Jack's ship, casting bright streaks across the metal floors. Leary was already up, examining the navigation charts displayed on the main console. Jack approached with 2 steaming cups of coffee in hand. Morning, Leary. Thought you might like to try coffee, he said, offering her a cup. Leary accepted the cup, sniffing it curiously before taking a cautious sip. It's very robust, she commented with a slight grimace. Yeah, it's an acquired taste, Jack chuckled, taking a long sip of his own. They spent the morning going over the ship's systems, with Jack explaining more about human technology and space travel protocols. As Leary became more familiar with the controls, her confidence grew. Jack, how do you decide where to go next? Leary asked, her fingers dancing over the navigation pad. Mostly where the work is, or where curiosity takes me, Jack replied, pulling up a star map on the screen. See here? These are trade routes, and these spots are known for resource extraction. But sometimes it's the unmarked spaces, places no one else bothers with, that are the most rewarding. Leary leaned over the map, intrigued. And these uncharted areas could hold new discoveries? Exactly. Like stumbling upon an abandoned alien princess, Jack said with a playful nudge. Leary laughed, a sound Jack was coming to enjoy. I suppose the universe does enjoy its surprises. Their conversation was interrupted by a beep from the console, a notification of a nearby distress signal. Jack's expression turned serious. We should check it out. Could be someone in trouble. Leary nodded, her face mirroring his concern. Let us go then. Lead the way. Navigating to the source of the distress signal brought them to a small spacecraft adrift in space. It was badly damaged, likely from asteroid collisions. Jack maneuvered his ship alongside, preparing for a possible rescue operation. Stay here. I'll go check it out, Jack said as he grabbed his rescue gear. Let me come with you. I can help, Leary insisted, her tone leaving no room for argument. Together, they boarded the damaged vessel. The air was stale, and the gravity was off, making their movements sluggish. They found the pilot, an older human male, unconscious but alive. Can you carry him back to the ship? Jack asked, checking the pilot's vitals. Yes, I've got him, Leary responded, lifting the pilot with surprising ease. Back on Jack's ship, they settled the pilot in the med bay. Leary watched Jack carefully as he treated the man, her interest in human medical techniques evident. Why do humans help strangers so readily? She asked as Jack administered a dose of painkillers. It's just what you do, right? Help out when you can, Jack said, not looking up from his work. I'm learning much about humanity, Leary mused. You are different from what my people think. Jack met her gaze. And you're different from what I expected from a princess. Leary smiled. Perhaps we are both learning then. The rescued pilot soon woke up, groggy but grateful. He introduced himself as Morgan, a miner who had gotten lost after his navigation systems failed. Thank you both for saving my hide, Morgan said, his voice hoarse. It was our pleasure, Jack replied. We'll get you back to the nearest station. As Jack and Leary returned to the cockpit, a comfortable silence settled between them. They worked in tandem, checking the coordinates and preparing for their next jump. Leary glanced at Jack, a thoughtful expression on her face. Jack, do you believe fate brought us together? Jack looked at her, considering. Maybe. Or maybe it's just the universe's way of shaking things up. Leary nodded, looking out into the vastness of space. Either way, I am grateful. Jack smiled, turning his eyes back to the star-speckled void ahead. Me too, Leary. Me too. As they charted their course toward the space station, their journey felt less like a series of random events and more like a path they were meant to travel together. The echoes of their understanding filled the ship, binding them closer, not just by circumstances, but by a shared curiosity and a growing friendship. Leary watched as Jack and Morgan worked together to repair a section of the hull damage during the rescue operation. The men had formed an easy camaraderie, filled with lighthearted banter and shared efforts. Morgan, with his vast experience in space mining and repairs, had taken to explaining the finer points of space-grade patching materials to Jack. So you spread it even, just like frosting a cake, Morgan instructed, his hands deftly smoothing the sealant over the metal. Jack laughed. If only cake could fix a spaceship. Morgan wiped his brow, looking over at Leary. Princess, you sure you don't want to give it a try? There's a technique to it. Leary stepped forward, intrigued. I would like to learn, yes. Here. Morgan handed her the spatula-like tool. Just like that, smooth and steady. Under Morgan's guidance, Leary applied the sealant, her initial tentative strokes soon becoming more confident. Like this, she asked. Exactly like that, Morgan affirmed. You're a natural. Jack watched them, a proud smile on his face. We'll make a space engineer out of you yet, Leary. Leary returned the smile, her cheeks coloring slightly with pleasure. I am eager to learn all aspects of space travel, she said. With the hull patched, the trio moved inside to the ship's system diagnostics. Jack led the effort, showing Leary and Morgan the basics of the ship's engineering interface. You see, each section of the ship can be monitored here. If there's an issue, it'll show up as red, Jack explained, pointing to the screen. Morgan nodded. And I assume the auto-repair functions can handle minor issues? Most of the time, yes. But for the big problems, it's manual checks and repairs, Jack replied. Leary, studying the interface intently, inquired. And these readings here, are they normals? That's the life support system. It's stable now, Jack answered. Good eye, though. It's important to keep an eye on that one. The lesson continued with Leary and Morgan taking turns to simulate fault scenarios and practicing their responses. As they worked, the ship felt less like a vessel and more like a shared home, their combined efforts weaving a tighter bond between them. As evening approached, they gathered in the small dining area of the ship. Jack had prepared a simple meal, better than the usual rations, to celebrate their successful repairs. So Leary, Morgan started as they ate. Jack tells me you were a princess back home. What's it like being royalty in space? Leary paused, her utensil halfway to her mouth. It was a life filled with duties and little freedom. Being here with you, learning and doing, this is liberating. That's the beauty of space, Jack added. Out here, you're not a princess, a miner, or a scout. You're just a crew, equals working together. Morgan raised his cup. To the crew, then. Leary and Jack joined in, their cups clinking softly in the quiet of the ship. To the crew, they echoed. After dinner, as Morgan excused himself to rest, Leary lingered by the viewport, looking out at the passing stars. Jack joined her, leaning against the frame. Thinking about home? Jack asked gently. Leary shook her head. Not home, but the future. I am considering what it means to start anew, perhaps not as a princess, but as something else. Jack nodded, understanding the weight of her words. Whatever you choose to be, you'll excel, Leary. You have the heart of an explorer, curious and brave. Leary turned to him, her expression softening. And you, Jack, have the heart of a teacher. You have shown me much about kindness and courage. Their conversation drifted into plans for the next leg of their journey, discussing potential stops and the new skills Leary hoped to acquire. The quiet confidence between them spoke of a deepening trust, a mutual respect that went beyond their roles aboard the ship. As they talked, the stars outside seemed not so much a backdrop to their journey, but a promise of the vast possibilities that lay ahead. As the ship approached the bustling trade station on the outer rim of the Cygnus sector, the atmosphere among the crew was a blend of anticipation and apprehension. Morgan had decided to part ways here, eager to get back to his mining operations, but not without a final meal together. So, Leary, ready to see one of the human space bazaars? Morgan teased as they gathered in the dining area, their last supper before docking. I am curious, Leary admitted, her eyes sparkling. Jack has told me stories. Jack laughed, setting down a plate of freshly prepared food, far from their usual fare. Don't set your expectations too high. It's a bit chaotic and not nearly as glamorous as the stories might suggest. Morgan chuckled. He's right. It's a mess, but it's our mess. You'll find everything from engine parts to exotic spices, and if you're lucky, maybe a decent cup of coffee. Their conversation was light, filled with reminiscing and advice from Morgan about dealing with the rough-and-tumble types they might encounter at the station. Leary listened intently, soaking up every detail. After their meal, they prepared for docking. Jack led the way to the control room, with Leary close behind, eager to observe the docking procedure. See here, Jack pointed at the console. We need to request clearance and then align the ship with the docking arm. It's a bit like parking a very large, very expensive car. Leary nodded, watching as Jack communicated with the station. Her eyes were wide as the station came into view, a sprawling mass of modules and docking bays, surrounded by ships of all sizes. Leary, once we're docked, you'll stick close, okay? Stations like these can be overwhelming, Jack instructed, his tone protective. Leary nodded, her expression serious. I understand. With Morgan's help, the docking went smoothly, and soon they were walking down the ramp onto the station. The sights, sounds, and smells were overwhelming. Aliens of all shapes and sizes, stalls selling unfamiliar foods and goods, the hum of different languages filling the air. Jack and Morgan guided Leary through the throngs, each pointing out different aspects of station life. Morgan was keen to show Leary the mining gear, while Jack highlighted the various spacecraft parts and gadgets. As they wandered, Leary's fascination was evident. She paused at a stall selling intricate jewelry, her fingers tracing the delicate metalwork. It's beautiful, she murmured. You should have it, Jack said, reaching for his wallet. No, I couldn't, Leary began, but Jack interrupted her. Consider it a welcome gift to the wider galaxy, he insisted, purchasing the piece before she could protest further. Leary looked at him, her expression a mix of gratitude and affection. Thank you, Jack. Morgan clapped Jack on the back. Good choice, lad. All right, I need to head off. Got a deal to make on some mining drones? He turned to Leary. It was a pleasure, princess. Don't let this guy get into too much trouble, he joked. Leary smiled. I will do my best. With goodbyes said, Jack and Leary continued exploring. Jack was keenly aware of the people who glanced their way, curious or cautious at the sight of an Ildrian with a human. Jack, Leary said quietly as they stopped at a cafe. It is a lot to take in, but I am grateful to be here to see all this. Jack smiled, handing her a cup of the station's finest coffee, hoping it would fare better than his last attempt. I'm glad, Leary. There's a lot more to see, and we're just getting started. They sat, watching the crowd, a myriad of species and stories passing before them. It was a moment of peace amid the chaos of the station, a chance to reflect on the journey that had brought them together and the journey still to come. Leary sipped her coffee, this time with a genuine smile. It's good, she declared. Jack laughed, relieved. Good? I'm glad. As the station life buzzed around them, Jack and Leary shared a quiet connection, their bond deepening with each new experience. The galaxy was vast, and their adventures were just beginning. But for now, they had each other, and that was enough to face whatever came next. After their excursion at the trade station, Jack and Leary continued their journey deeper into uncharted territories. The close quarters of the ship became a shared space of learning and adaptation, their daily routines blending into one another seamlessly. One morning, as the ship hummed through the vacuum of space, Jack decided it was time to introduce Leary to some of the more technical aspects of space navigation. All right, Leary, today you're going to help me chart a course to the Helix Nebula, Jack announced, gesturing toward the navigation console with a grin. Leary approached the console, her face lit with anticipation. I'm ready. What's first? First, we align our current position with the star maps. Here, you take the helm, Jack said, stepping aside to give Leary access to the controls. Leary's hands hovered over the console, her confidence growing with each instruction Jack provided. Like this? She asked, adjusting the dials as Jack had shown her. Exactly like that, Jack confirmed, watching her with a mix of pride and admiration. Now, input these coordinates. They spent the morning working together, Jack explaining the subtleties of space currents and gravitational pulls, Leary absorbing every word. It wasn't just about teaching. It was a shared endeavor, each discovery a bridge further connecting their two worlds. As the ship sailed smoothly on its new course, Jack and Leary took a break in the common area. You're picking this up faster than I did, Jack chuckled, handing Leary a steaming mug of something aromatic. What is this? Leary asked, sniffing the mug cautiously. It's called tea, another Earth specialty. Different from coffee, milder, Jack explained. Leary took a tentative sip and smiled. It's pleasant, warm. Tea's a bit of a ritual back on Earth. A moment to pause, reflect, or just warm up, Jack shared, taking a sip from his own mug. Their conversation drifted from Earth traditions to those of Leary's home planet, Ildria. She spoke of the seasonal festivals, the vibrant dances, and the intricate family bonds that structured Ildrian society. It sounds beautiful, Jack mused, genuinely intrigued. You miss it? I do sometimes, but I'm finding that maybe home isn't just a place, Leary said, her gaze meeting Jack's. It's where you can share moments like this. Jack nodded, feeling a warmth that wasn't just from the tea. I feel the same. In the days that followed, their journey took them close to a minor planetary system known for its spectacular auroral displays. Jack suggested they take a closer look. As they approached the planet, the sky outside the viewport lit up with colors neither had seen before. Greens, blues, purples, and pinks danced across the cosmos. Wow, that's incredible, Leary exclaimed, her face pressed against the glass. It's called an aurora. Happens when solar winds meet a planet's magnetic field, Jack explained, joining her at the window. They watched in awe, the natural light show a backdrop to their shared silence, a moment of peace in the vastness of space. Later, Jack showed Leary how to capture the phenomenon with the ship's imaging equipment. "These images are keepers," he said, "memories of our travels. That's a human concept I've come to appreciate. Capturing moments, keeping memories," Leary reflected as she adjusted the camera settings under Jack's guidance. "As much as we travel forward, it's nice to look back sometimes," Jack agreed. Their collection of images grew, not just of the auroras, but of each other, smiling, working, and living side by side. These photos, simple yet profound, were more than just visual records. They were symbols of their evolving relationship, each snapshot a testament to their journey and the bond they were building. As they moved away from the auroral planet, heading toward their next destination, Jack and Leary shared a comfortable routine, their days filled with tasks, their evenings with conversations. The ship, once a place of solitude for Jack, had become a home, animated by laughter, learning, and the warm glow of companionship. "Leary, with every star we pass, I think we're charting more than just a course through space," Jack said one evening as they reviewed their route. Leary looked at him, her expression soft. "We're charting a course through life, together." Jack smiled, feeling that, indeed, the universe was much friendlier with Leary by his side. They returned to their tasks, the stars outside, not just points of light, but beacons on their shared path, guiding them forward. As Jack and Leary's journey continued, they found themselves nearing the desert planet of Sandara, known for its vast, untouched landscapes and harsh environmental conditions. It was here that Jack planned to teach Leary some advanced survival techniques, a practical skill that was essential in the unpredictable vastness of space. "Sandara is not the friendliest place, but it's great for training," Jack explained as they approached the planet. "You ready to rough it for a couple of days?" Leary nodded, her determination clear. "I am ready. You have taught me much, but I know there is always more to learn." They landed smoothly on the outskirts of one of Sandara's vast deserts, the landscape stretching out endless and daunting before them. The ship's ramp lowered, and the heat hit them like a wave as they stepped onto the sandy soil. "First lesson," Jack started, pulling a pair of goggles from his pack and handing them to Leary. "Always protect your eyes from the sand and sun." Leary fitted the goggles over her eyes, mimicking Jack's actions. "What else should I be wary of?" "Dehydration, extreme temperature changes, and Sandara's wildlife," Jack listed off as he led the way. "Let's set up camp. I'll show you how to assemble a shelter using natural resources." Together, they gathered materials, long, fibrous plants and broad, flat stones. Jack demonstrated how to weave the fibers and support the structure with stones. Leary followed suit, her movements becoming more confident as the structure took shape. "This is similar to constructing shelters for the seasonal festivals on Ildria," Leary observed, tying off a knot. "Different planets, similar survival strategies," Jack commented, stepping back to admire their handiwork. "Not bad for your first Sandarin shelter." As the sun began to set, casting long shadows over the desert, Jack and Leary prepared a simple meal over a portable stove. The tranquility of the desert during twilight was a stark contrast to the bustling life on the trade station they had visited weeks earlier. "This silence is profound," Leary said, her voice low, almost blending into the whispers of the evening wind. "It's peaceful," Jack agreed. "Makes you appreciate the simpler things, doesn't it?" Leary nodded, her gaze fixed on the horizon where the last light of day was giving way to the onset of night. "It does. It also makes me appreciate the complexity of life. Here we are, two beings from different worlds, sharing a meal on a desert planet." Jack smiled, handing her a mug of hot beverage. "To shared meals and new worlds." "To us," Leary responded, clinking her mug against his. After dinner, they practiced navigation by the stars, an essential skill for any space traveler. Jack pointed out constellations and celestial landmarks, Leary listening intently, asking questions that showed her deepening understanding of the cosmos. "See that cluster? That's the Shepherd. Navigationally speaking, it's a point of reference for the outer sectors," Jack explained. I see. And it aligns with the galactic plane, Leary added, her finger tracing the path of the stars. Exactly. You're getting the hang of this faster than I did my first time, Jack said with a laugh. As the night deepened, they sat beside their campfire, the light flickering across their faces. The conversation turned to personal dreams and aspirations. What's next for us, Jack? Leary asked, her voice tinged with a mixture of excitement and uncertainty. Jack looked into the fire, considering her question. Whatever we want, I suppose. More stars, more planets, maybe even charting undiscovered territories together. Leary's eyes lit up. I'd like that. Exploring the unknown with you, it feels right. Jack met her gaze, his decision clear. Then let's promise to keep exploring, as long as the stars will have us. Leary reached out, her hand finding his in the glow of the firelight. It's a promise, Jack. That night, under the stars of Sandara, Jack and Leary not only embraced the wild and untamed spirit of the desert, but also acknowledged the profound connection they had forged, a partnership that transcended the boundaries of their different origins, bound by curiosity and a shared journey toward the unknown. The early morning light on Sandara was gentle, casting a soft glow over the desert and the small camp where Jack and Leary had spent the night. They had talked until the stars faded, sharing thoughts and dreams, drawing closer in the shared silence that only the vastness of the desert could offer. Jack was the first to stir, stepping outside the shelter to watch the sun rise. Leary joined him shortly after, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders against the morning chill. It's beautiful, she said softly, watching the horizon change colors. It is, Jack agreed. It's a new day and new beginning. They packed up their camp in companionable silence, each movement synchronized with the others, a ballet of efficiency and mutual understanding. As they loaded the last of their gear into the ship, Jack turned to Leary. So, where to next? He asked, a hint of excitement in his voice. Leary considered the question, her gaze drifting to the star chart displayed on the ship's console. Somewhere we've never been, she suggested with a playful smile. I like the sound of that, Jack replied, grinning. Let's chart a course. As they lifted off from Sandara, leaving the quiet desert behind, Jack initiated the sequence to enter the coordinates Leary had picked at random, a small, uncharted system on the edge of the galaxy. Ever wonder what we'll find in places like these? Leary asked, her voice full of wonder as she watched the stars blur into the streaks of hyperspace. Sometimes I think it's not about what we find, but what we experience along the way, Jack responded, his eyes on the vast expanse ahead. Experiences are better shared, Leary noted, looking over at him with a warm smile. They are, Jack agreed, reaching out to squeeze her hand. No matter what's out there, we'll face it together. The journey through hyperspace was smooth, and when they emerged, a beautiful, vibrant planet greeted them. It was covered in vast oceans and archipelagos, a stark contrast to the desert they had just left. Looks promising, Leary observed, scanning the data on the atmosphere. Breathable air, warm climate. It might be worth exploring. Let's set down near one of those larger islands, Jack suggested, maneuvering the ship toward the planet. The island was a paradise, with lush forests and clear blue waters. As they explored, the alien yet peaceful environment seemed to solidify their decision to keep moving forward together. Sitting on the shore, watching the waves lap against the sand, Jack turned to Leary. You know, I never thought I'd find someone who shares my passion for discovery. It's refreshing. Leary laughed softly. I never thought I'd find someone who would show me the galaxy. It's more than I ever hoped for. They talked about setting up a semi-permanent base on the island, a place to return to between their travels. A home away from home. That way, we have somewhere to come back to, Jack suggested. A base for both relaxation and planning new adventures. I'd like that, Leary said. A base where we can gather our thoughts, our discoveries, and maybe invite others like us. Explorers and wanderers, Jack added. Yes, a haven for people looking to share their stories, their knowledge, Leary envisioned. As the day turned to evening, they walked back to their ship, hand in hand, their path illuminated by the setting sun. They had found more than new worlds and sights. They had found a shared purpose and a future filled with endless possibilities. "Here's to the journey, Leary," Jack said as they stopped to watch the sunset. "To the journey and to us," Leary replied, leaning her head on his shoulder. The sky turned brilliant hues of orange and purple, a canvas celebrating the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. On this new planet, under unfamiliar stars, Jack and Leary stood together, ready to embrace whatever came next with open hearts and curious minds. The universe was vast, and their adventures were just beginning.